This man probably called more Big 12 games this year than anybody else. I didn't keep track of that, but we're going to just roll with it. The great Fran Fraschilla joins us here on Westwood One Sports. Good morning, Fran. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. You are probably correct. I don't add them up, but that's probably true. And I would have loved to have talked a little bit more about those Big 12 guys over the last 3 days, but my expertise on this particular draft is the international guys. And but I knew the draft cold, and certainly happy for so many of my friends in the Big 12 and their parents who got a chance to get drafted the last 2 days.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to picking your brain about a lot of these picks that were made over the last couple of days. I did want to get just your immediate reaction first, though, Fran, to the LaMelo Ball deal.
Yeah.
Traded to Minnesota, Naz Reid, and an unprotected first-round pick in 2033, as well as some other second-round picks and pick swaps well off into the future go back to Charlotte as well. Just your initial thoughts on LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards in the same backcourt.
Well, I was sitting next to Shams Charania last night as he was, grinding away trying to get the particulars, and he did tell us at the end of the night, and I think he reported that he felt that in the next 24 hours a deal would be done. He was absolutely correct. Obviously, you'd expect that from Shams. And LaMelo had a really good year this year, playing on a Charlotte Hornet team that made some improvement. I mean, they were terrific towards the end of the year. And it's a little surprising because of that, but you don't know the internal dynamics. You just drafted a youngster, Christian Anderson, in the first round who, would probably now get a chance to play even more. Naz Reid has not been a starter in Minnesota because of Julius Randle. Randle's gone. Now Naz Reid is gone. To your point, that becomes an excellent backcourt. In a game, Chris, in a typical NBA game, there's 100 possessions. And when you ask somebody like Anthony Edwards to handle, the majority of the load, that can really wear on you. This is two co-pilots now piloting a 747 across the Atlantic. When one guy needs a little bit of break, you got the other guy now to pick up the slack, and vice versa. So, in that sense, I trust Tim Connolly. He does an excellent job, and it's probably a trade that both teams feel will help them.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I like that analogy. You got one guy who needs to step out for a second. The other one can pilot the thing for a while. I'm curious to see how they work together as well. LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards going forward from Minnesota. Let's pivot back to the draft, though, Fran. And as mentioned, Big 12 dominated the first round on Tuesday night. So let's talk about A.J. Dybantsa to the Wizards, Darryn Peterson to the Jazz. Which one of these guys you think has more of an immediate impact? Maybe that's more about the team around them, but just how much of an immediate impact can each of these guys have?
Both will have an immediate impact, Chris, honestly. And this is, last year we would have said that no matter what team was drafting number one, if they had four power forwards, they were still taking Cooper Flagg. Obviously he was far and away the best player in the draft. This was a little different. The top three and even the top four all had their strengths. Any one of them can be the best player in this draft in 5 years. And by the way, any one of the guys taken in the first round could be the best player, a la Steph Curry at 7, a Jalen Brunson even in the second round. So to answer your question, I think I think both teams got what they wanted. Washington, Sarr is a rising star, power forward. Hopefully Anthony Davis plays, 55, 60 games. They've got a plethora of young guards and wings, and you plug AJ in. In Utah, you've got a terrific front line already, assuming they re-sign Walker Kessler, but you already have Ace Bailey, at a 2-3. You have Lauri Markkanen, who's one of the most underrated players in the league. People don't know how good he is. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., and so Darryn Peterson, fits nicely in with Keontae George. And so I think to answer your question, these picks each fit the team that drafted them.
Fran Fraschilla of ESPN with us talking NBA draft now that is done and wrapped here on Westwood One Sports. Chris Mack in for Nick Kostos today here on You Better You Bet. One of the guys I was most interested in seeing where he ended up going, Fran, coming into this draft, not a Big 12 guy, but Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas. Just a guy who's incredibly dynamic with the ball in his hands. How much can he impact things right out of the gate for Sacramento, a team that's really always in fits and starts, feels like it's trying to rebuild?
Yeah, and as you probably know, Chris, there was a family connection in Sacramento. Scott Perry, who runs the organization from a basketball standpoint, coached Darius' dad at Eastern Kentucky. They have that Detroit connection as well. But Darius Acuff could be the best player in this draft. He really could. As I said, you never know from year to year. Now, I understand why L.A. did not take him. They already have a small guard in Darius Garland, who's an all-star pretty much and plays like it. And so they probably were concerned. The interesting thing is going to be if Mikal Brown turns out to be really, really good, we have no issue here. But if it's Darius Acuff at 7, then there'll be some consternation here in Brooklyn, where I am, currently as I get ready to leave after the draft. So Darius is, I love him. He had an incredible year. He's Dame Lillard reincarnated. He wears the same chip on his shoulder out of Detroit that a kid from Oakland like Dame Lillard had coming into the league. So tremendous. I love him, and he can score. He's a great passer. That wasn't highlighted much by the draft experts coming in. And he's going to fit right away. He's going to have the ball in his hands, and I have a feeling he's going to be a really, really good NBA player.
With so much going on in Milwaukee, Fran, over the last few days, and it still may be a little unsettled. I mean, it's summertime in the NBA. Who knows what other dominoes may fall for the Bucks. Yeah. But Braden Burry's at number 10. Just immediately, what is his impact, or how does he fit in once that roster has settled, or at least based on what you see in front of you right now with Milwaukee?
Well, first of all, big picture, Chris, with Milwaukee having to move Giannis, that was a given. I thought they did a really good job, not only in the trade with some really good young players, I thought they did well from that standpoint. They picked up 3 guys that are going to probably be in their rotation right away, and then 2 more with Burries and Nate Amen from Tennessee, who is not ready right now to be a great NBA player, but has certainly a lot of upside. But in Braden Burry specifically, you've got a combo guard who just knows how to score, great attitude, great work ethic. As good as Arizona was this year, and all 5 of those guys will get drafted either this year or next. When he showed up in June, the coaching staff at Arizona said, we knew right away, and everybody did in the gym, he was the best player. Started out not wanting to take a big role because of the veterans on the team, and by the end of the year, he was phenomenal. So this is a great way to restart a Bucks program without Giannis, and I'm a fan of Braden Burry's. I don't see him failing, but bigger picture, if you're a Bucks fan, is that they made a lot of moves that I think allow them to start to rebuild quickly.
Fran Fraschilla of ESPN with us here on Westwood One Sports. I just got done before you jumped on, Fran, talking to John Martin in Memphis about the complexion of NBA rosters now, especially in the Western Conference, where I think everybody is looking for some sort of formula that can push them past Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, and it includes a big front line, multiple guys who can all play on the floor at the same time together. For example, now in Memphis, you've got Edey, Isaiah Stewart, who they traded for last night, and of course, Cam Boozer added to the mix. You see that similarly maybe in the Thunder trying to beef up front as well, with the Day Mara added last night in the draft from Michigan. How does he maybe, I don't want to say relieve Chet Holmgren from some of those responsibilities, but how does he help Chet Holmgren with some of those responsibilities when they're going up against Wemby undoubtedly deep in the Western Conference playoffs?
Well, I think if you follow Sam Presti, as you and I both do, Chris, you know that he always has a plan, and as good a general manager as there is in the NBA. And it's interesting. 8 weeks ago, I thought, in analyzing where they might go, especially coming out of the loss to the Spurs, I thought, Adai Mara might be pretty interesting here. 7'3", 7'4", long wingspan. Maybe he checks a little bit of the strength of Wemby. But as I watched the NBA Finals, I saw what Mitch Robinson and OG Anunoby did to Wemby and really roughed him up. kind of had second thoughts. But I think it can be a factor in slowing down Wemby, but he's not going to be able to slow down Wemby if Wemby takes him away from the basket. But as much as you have to worry about the Spurs if you're OKC, you also have to look at the 82-game schedule and then the future. And obviously, Sam Presti thinks there's a lot there with Adai Mara, great passer. I was told that he was really shooting the ball well during his workouts out in California. So, yes, he could be somewhat of an antidote to Wemby. Hard to think that anybody really could on a full-time basis, but they obviously felt his size in one way, shape, or form is going to help, OKC move it forward a little bit from what ended up being a disappointing end of the season. And by the way, if I'm Chet Holmgren right now, even before they drafted Adai Mara, I know I'm in the weight room. I'm going to look like Charles Atlas next October if I have any sense.
Fran Fraschilla with us here on Westwood One Sports. You guys did a great job with the second round coverage last night, Fran. I know it's chaotic because I felt for Malika Andrews trying to keep track of each pick as it's been traded 3, 4, 5 times, and you're trying to figure out which guy's actually going to what squad. Coming out of round 2, though, every team is going to hope that their team can find the second round Jalen Brunson. It doesn't happen all that often. You're not finding Jalen Brunsons in the second round every year. But as you look at the second round and the way it played out last night, are there some candidates maybe that people should be looking at and say, okay, maybe that guy, there's an outside chance he can become the Jalen Brunson of this draft?
Well, now, not having the list in front of me off the top of my head, I think of Henry Vasar. There was a reason he slipped. Now, where the speculation was that his agent was trying to find a home for him where he wouldn't take a two-way deal, which after the first 5 picks of the second round, the agents and teams they confer about how much money a team can pay the pick. And if the agent says, no, don't draft my guy, they move on. I think we were all surprised that Henry dropped to where he did, and Atlanta, I think, got a steal. Unless there's something medically that we didn't know about. He had a tremendous year at North Carolina at 7 feet. And quite frankly, when Caleb Wilson got hurt for the second time in mid-February, Henry really stepped up his game. So he comes to mind. I can't think of anybody that I think I would predict will be a Jalen Brunson or a Dylan Brooks type. But I would say, like, Emmanuel Sharp of Houston at 45, I think he's going to Sacramento, which gives him an opportunity to play on that team. He's not getting cut. You're not cutting him. He's going to probably find his way into the rotation. So he comes to mind. Jaden Bradley at 50, I think, is your classic, backup point guard. Kind of ironic that I believe he went to Toronto where they already have, a classic overachiever and another Big 12 guy I covered in Jamal Shed. So those two guys, particularly, obviously Isaiah Evans slipped into the second round. We didn't expect that, terrific shooter. So those are some guys that I think, jump out at me right away and, could have an impact.
Fran, appreciate your time. Know you got to travel this morning. Great job the last couple of nights with the draft on ESPN. We appreciate you checking in.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Yep, Fran Fraschilla, ESPN college basketball analyst. And as mentioned, they did a phenomenal job, especially last night. Like the first round, you're going to get some deals, you're going to get some movement, but you feel pretty good about who's going where, especially in a draft like this. And short of any massive shakeups that didn't happen at the top of the first round, you had an idea of how it was going to go down. The second round is just utter chaos. It is. I mean, as they're getting ready to announce picks, the picks are getting traded. Then you've got players getting picked and then getting traded again after it's utter and complete and total chaos. But I thought everyone on the coverage last night did a great job, Fran included.